Many of us are living our lives waiting for the moment when we finally lose the weight, waiting for when we make more money, waiting to get the house, the partner, the job, the title. And we tell ourselves, when I finally achieve this goal, I'll be happy. But here's the truth, most people never learn, and this is hard. The goal isn't what creates long-term happiness, because the moment you reach that goal, your brain moves the finish line. Your brain is wired to adapt, and you achieve the thing that you thought would change your life, and suddenly it's not enough. Now you need more money, more success, to lose more weight, a bigger house, or a different circumstance to make you happy. This is why so many of us spend our lives climbing a ladder that never ends, constantly chasing the next thing that promises happiness, but never truly delivers it. Real happiness isn't found after you achieve the goal. Real happiness is found in the now, while you're building, while you're becoming, while you're growing into the person who can create the life you want. You are allowed to want big things and to pursue your goals with passion and fire, and I want you to. But your happiness cannot live on the other side of that finish line, because that finish line keeps moving. And in today's episode, you're going to learn why that never works, and you continue to tie your happiness to the achievement of things, and you still feel empty. So we're going to talk about, how do we change that? How do we show up differently? How do we cultivate happiness that is long-term happiness? And how do you become the type of person who quits chasing happiness and instead creates it? I'm Kim Strobel, and this is She Finds Joy. In today's episode, we're going to talk about happiness. And I'm so excited to tell you a few things about how this happiness formula tends to work in most of our minds. You see, what I tell people is we play the what if game with happiness. We say, if I could just lose the weight, I'd be happy. When I get a job that I make more money, I'll be happier. When we can afford a bigger home, I'll be happier. If we could go on better vacations, I'd be happier. When I find the right mate or the right partner, I'll be happier. And what we're doing, folks, is there's two things there that are myths. And the one is you're tying your achievement, you're tying your happiness to the achievement of a goal. You're saying, I'm not going to be happy until this particular thing happens. And so there's an issue with that, because what that means, folks, is you're robbing yourself of all of your happiness in the now. In the now. I'm not saying that life needs to feel perfect or be perfect in order to have that. What I am saying is that even when you don't have everything that you want yet, which, by the way, a lot of the things that you want aren't going to contribute to long-term happiness. It's okay to want them. It's okay to want a large house. I have a wonderful, big, beautiful, large house. I love it very much. It's the problem is when you tie your happiness to the achievement of a goal, you're missing out on all of your happiness in the now, right now. I want people to find their happiness in the now while they're reaching for that goal. We know that humans need to have goals. This is what makes us feel fulfilled. It gives us meaning. It gives us purpose. The problem is so many times what we think will really make us happy doesn't last. It doesn't last. And so we play this what if game with happiness. When I get this job, I'll be happy. When I find the right partner, I'll be happy. When we can buy this home, I'll be happy. When we have the 2.5 kids, I'll be happy. When I lose the weight, I'll be happy. And so the problem with this, folks, is that you're tying your happiness to the achievement of a goal. And I want you to have goals and have big goals, but I don't want you to tie your happiness to the achievement of that goal. Because what happens, folks, is we have hedonic adaptation. And hedonic adaptation is this internal mechanism that we have inside of us where we literally simply change the goalpost. And so I want you to think of it like this. Have you ever been like outside in a frigid, cold air, and then you're so cold and you come in and you sit by the fire and you start to warm up and you're like, this feels so good. It feels so toasty. And then after a few minutes, you're like, okay, I'm done with that. It doesn't feel so great yet. And you step away from the fireplace. That's because as human beings, we have inside of us hedonic adaptation, which means we simply adjust to the new level. Okay. And so what happens, folks, is you say, listen, if I could just make 100K a year, I'd be happy. And I'm going to tell you, you hit 100K and your brain's going to go, this is great. This is awesome. This feels good. And after a fairly short period of time, your brain is going to say, oh, now I need to move the goalpost. Now I need 125 to be happy. Like now I want to go further. Now I need even more. Or you lose 10 pounds. That was your goal. And you're like, this feels good. And then you get to 10 pounds and you're like, oh, I just need 5 more pounds. If I could just, so our brain constantly recalibrates and it constantly moves the goalpost over and over and over again, which is why so many of the things that we think will bring us happiness don't bring us lasting happiness. It's wonderful to have those things. There's nothing wrong with losing weight and feeling good about it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money. I love to make money. It buys immense freedom in my life. But the issue is when you are counting on that thing to elevate your happiness. And so as we go through some of these next podcast episodes, I'm going to be talking to you about what really does contribute to long lasting, longer increasing levels of happiness and what really doesn't. Hi, friends. This is Kim Strobel, and I'm interrupting your podcast with this quick announcement. I've been getting several requests every week from healthcare organizations, prisons, the FBI, banks, healthcare institutions, and of course, schools and school conferences about keynoting for them. And I think the reason for this is many of us feel like we are victims to our lives, the overwhelming stress, the life circumstances that can take us away from being the best version of ourselves in every area of our lives. And I think that's why I'm getting called to speak at all of these various organizations because we know that when we learn to prioritize our health and happiness, we move the needle in every area of our life. We are able to show up and productively be better in our jobs. We are able to show up as mothers, fathers, friends. Our health and fitness journey begins to look differently when we actually learn how to prioritize our happiness and well-being when we can get those outer results. And so if you're interested in having me come do a keynote, if you're a business or organization, you can reach out to kimstrobel.com. And if you're a school or a school conference, you can reach out at strobeleducation.com. And I would love for you to pass my name to whoever is in charge of bringing speakers to your place, because I promise you what you will learn and what I know for sure is that when we learn to prioritize our happiness and well-being, we elevate every single area of our lives. But for now, I just want you to think about, do you play that what if game with happiness? And if so, how can you change that? How can you not tie your happiness to the achievement of that goal? And how can you find your happiness in the now? Because that's what we're really looking at. And so I'm going to leave this short and sweet today because I only want you thinking about how do you play the what if game with happiness, okay? And in these following episodes, I'm going to teach you what really does contribute to increased happiness levels and what doesn't. But before we do, I want you to think about filling out one of these happiness quizzes that I recommend. So one of my favorites is from Martin Seligman. Okay, and Martin Seligman is like the grandfather of positive psychology. And positive psychology is the psychology of what makes life worth living. It comes from empowering people to develop a positive state of mind, to live the most rewarding and happiest life they can. And what we know is that there are certain happiness boosting strategies that are effective that you can learn to enjoy, and you can increase your happiness if you're willing to do the work. And so positive psychology is basically this scientific field of study that's been done for 40 plus years that studies the strengths that enable individuals and communities to thrive. And so basically what they've done are these highly vetted studies where they look at all these dynamics. What are the social economical dynamics? What kind of money did these people make? What kind of jobs did they have? What kind of families did they have? And they began to group people of similar demographics, economics, and so forth. And what they did is they studied those people over a period of years, and they started paying attention to which ones are outperforming everybody else, which ones have more vitality, more energy, more creativity, more success, more meaning. What makes those people, why are they outperforming everyone else? And that is how the field of positive psychology was born, because they started to see that those people that were outperforming, that were living these very flourishing, meaningful, positive, energetic lives, were actually cultivating a set of habits that were enabling them to perform and experience life at this level. And so we're going to be diving into that, but I want you to go to Martin Seligman's happiness quiz. It's called the PERMA Profiler, PERMA Profiler. We're going to drop a link in the show notes right now. I'm going to look it up. It's called the PERMA Profiler, and you go to what is called the Positive Psychology Center from Penn State. Okay. And so Martin Seligman, if you just simply Google PERMA Profiler, Martin Seligman, and he created a test that is kind of like a quiz that is actually going to give you an evaluation of what are the 5 pillars of well-being that he calls PERMA. Positive emotion for the P, engagement for the E, relationships for the R, M for meaning, and A for accomplishment. And I just want you to find this quiz. You do have to create a login at the University of Pennsylvania, and you're going to see lots of quizzes, but I want you to find the PERMA one. And it's going to give you a snapshot of where you are right now, of where your happiness levels might be. How much positive emotion do you have in life? How engaged are you in life? What kind of meaningful relationships do you have in life? And we're not using this to shame or to judge, but it's just kind of interesting to see where you are. And then it shows you the areas you can work on. And so in this particular episode, I simply wanted to explain how we play the what if game with happiness and the troubles that we run into when we do that, because we're never satisfied, because the hedonic treadmill goes on and on and on, and we simply move the goalpost and we say, now in order to feel happy, I need this. And so in these following episodes, we're going to talk about which things really do increase your happiness levels and which things don't. And you're going to be shocked to discover the ones that don't. Thank you so much for joining me on the She Finds Joy show today. I'm truly honored that you chose to spend your time here with me, my dear friend. If this episode brought you encouragement or a fresh perspective, I would be so grateful if you took a moment to leave a review. Just head to kimstrobel.com/review. And what it does is it helps more people find these important conversations. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Thank you again for listening in. I am so very grateful, my friend, to walk this journey with you. I also want to encourage you to share this episode with everybody in your life you care about. We all need encouragement and real talk. Thank you for listening and watching. I believe in you for being able to create a life that feels good from the inside out. Remember, you are deserving of joy and happiness.